I'm joined today with my sweetheart Tracy and talking about cost shifting in dentistry and the ethics behind it, or the lack of ethics, I should say. Tracy and I were just having a conversation before we started the podcast, and
I can't wait to talk about it.
Well, I mean, you stated how we've seen cost shifting, I don't know, per capita worse in dentistry than medical. I hate to even think that, but we begin our podcast right there.
Welcome, all of you fantastic dental podcast listeners, to the My Practice, My Business Dental Podcast Show, where we help dentists profit and thrive with excerpts from the clinical business of dentistry training here at My Practice, My Business. We'll be addressing and answering questions with current trends dentists and their teams face each and every day in their pursuit of this wonderful career we call dentistry. And now the host of our show, the clinical director and president at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
Welcome back to the My Practice, My Business podcast show, where we get real about what it means to be ethical, profitable, and sane in modern dentistry, I swear. Again, I'm your host, Dr. Rob Thorup, and today we're tackling a big question. What's more ethical? Giving patients more choices or running a business that actually survives? I'm dedicating this podcast to our My Practice, My Business clients in Idaho and their brave thought leadership in battling Delta Dental of Idaho and following Tracy's lead. So let's break this topic down just a little bit. I want you to imagine you offer two options to your patients, one with premium materials and one standard. Sounds good, right? But what happens when those better options come at a cost that insurance won't cover? So now ask yourself, when you pass on those costs, you're supposed to pass those costs on to your clients, right? To higher paying patients. Is that ethical? Or are you just playing Robin Hood with root canals? Here's the kicker. Many practices do this silently. PPO plans cover less, which we know, and yet those patients often walk out the same high-quality restorations that cash-paying or premium-insured patients get. So who's really paying? Your MEPAT patients, the ones funding your LEPAT patients' dental care? Is that what's going on? I think exactly what's going on. So the ethics of choice versus cost becomes this. When you're being reimbursed by a dental insurance plan, and they are reimbursing you at the LEPAT, least expensive professionally accepted treatment, and you're putting in more expensive professionally accepted treatment, you're doing what's known as cost shifting. And isn't it interesting, Trace, that we actually had conversation with a couple of the major suppliers, and it was funny what we learned. And that is, a lot of dentists out there, they're wanting to order the more expensive materials, medications, but what we found out is, like, they want Filtech Supreme, but then they go beat the crap out of the supplier to get the cheapest possible price, or they go to Net 32.
Well, we've seen a couple of other things where the agents or the supply reps have even said, well, yeah, they're going to beat me up for the price on the Filtech, but they're also going to buy the really cheap bonding agent. They're going to order all the cheap other additional services that they need to do to perform the service. That's frustrating because you're focusing on this really great quality material, in that case, that nanohybrid Filtech, but you're cheapening everything else and not thinking about it. In addition, it frustrates me when these offices will look at a patient and say, well, this is a Delta Dental patient, so I'm going to do the crap work. And then for that same code that they bill out for a fee-for-service patient, they're going to do better. That's frustrating as well, because now you're discriminating against those Delta Dental patients. Kind of interesting.
If you place in lesser materials.
Yeah, which we're seeing a lot of offices doing. I've had many dentists come to me and say, I'm doing the least expensive service on this Delta Dental patients. That's what I'm getting paid for. That's what I'm going to do.
Certain Delta Dentals won't allow the dentist to upgrade. Mm-hmm. Delta of 15 states will allow you to upgrade and charge a patient directly. But Delta Dental of Washington, Wyoming, Oklahoma, Hawaii.
Yeah.
They won't allow you to even offer choice and charge for it. They're like, Okay. For example, a meeting we had with the CEO of Delta Dental Wyoming. Okay. We're going to get into a whole nother podcast about malice versus stupidity.
That's a good one.
But you cannot reason with somebody who cannot be reasoned with because of stupidity. And we'll get into that. That's going to be a whole nother podcast. And he just looked right at us and said, is there a code for it? Well, no, there's not a code. Then I can't do anything about it. And then Tracy says, well, wait a minute. Let me tell you what the ADA says about fulfillment of the codes. And what's the ADA statement? My wife can quote scripture and verse on this all the time.
Yeah, we've heard this many times.
Go for it.
A decision to bill for enhancements is a business decision that is not supported by the CDT code.
Which means
there's no CDT code for better materials and technologies. Therefore, they're considered not covered. The office should ethically be able to create an internal code representing those enhancements and enter an agreed upon written agreement between the doctor-patient relationship.
And why don't we use unspecified procedure codes? Why don't we use those?
It's not transparent at all.
And you can't track.
I cannot track at all. So if I lump everything under unspecified, how do I know
what it was?
The patient is going to look at this and say, what is this bill for? All the unspecified things?
And then
How do you do that?
But here's the thing that I want all of you to understand right now. So on this segment 1 on ethics of choice versus costs, the thing that really is getting under my skin like no tomorrow is all you wonderful dentists out there. You need to listen to the podcast, Business Stupid versus Business Smart, because you as a business cannot afford to put in better, more expensive products, materials, medications, and technology into a patient where you're being reimbursed for a least expensive professionally accepted treatment, which is all the PPO plans out there.
Agreed.
Okay, so if you're putting in here's what's really interesting that I find, hon. After having an investigation with the supply companies,
yes.
Okay, it's funny how the dentists out there will order the better composites, mostly Filtech Supreme, but yet they're using the cheaper implants, the cheaper crowns for sure, not wanting to treat periodontal disease, even treat it how, with current modalities, it's like, no, I don't want to put antibiotics in. I don't want to do anything like that. It's like, I have a philosophy that my philosophical philosophy of philosophicals.
And going back to my last,
we don't want to do that.
Going back to my last example of that doctor.
But wait, it costs more money.
It does.
That's
the problem is especially up in Idaho and Wyoming and some of those other highly Delta Dental regulated Nazi communities.
You said
I know I said a bad word, sorry. But it is, they are definitely dictating the quality of deliverable care. And so I look at that and say, okay, the doctor in that particular situation is not able to offer his Delta Dental of Idaho patients better options. And so therefore he is doing the least expensive professionally accepted treatment. Now,
being forced to.
But he's forced to. He's not able to give them a choice.
Because they're not allowing him.
Exactly.
They're shutting him down.
And
saying you
so,
can't give your patient choice.
From a business perspective, I agree with what he's doing. Because if you're getting reimbursed from Walmart and you have no ability of increasing that reimbursement rate, then you're going to provide Walmart services. Those fee-for-service patients or other insured patients like the MetLife patients in the state.
Or like one of them that we saw with the patient yesterday whose insurance plan, holy cow, it's like...
They reimburse a ridiculous amount. It's great.
Exceed our fee-for-service fee.
Then, and that's another story of reevaluating our fee-for-service fees now. But ultimately, those patients have the opportunity now to choose better materials versus those patients who don't have the choice. And that's what kills me, is there should be a right to choose. Ethically, your patients deserve the right to choose what goes in their mouth.
Well, again, docs, if you're being reimbursed for a LEPAT procedure, which is all the procedures on a third-party payer, meaning a dental insurance plan, it is absolutely business stupid for you to put in better material, better technology, medications, because you're not being reimbursed for that. Period.
Well, and if you're doing that for your insured patients and then you turn around and charge your fee-for-service patients
the same
like a lower, for the better stuff, it's that's where the cost shifting happens, right? You're making up for it by charging more money to those fee-for-service patients.
Right. So, for example, Delta Dental, which everybody hates, but you can name a ton of insurances
Which,
out
by
there.
the way, in Utah, we don't hate Delta Dental.
No, not really at all. Delta Dental in Utah, why is it that Delta Dental in Utah, nobody's really upset with them?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because in their contract, they allow us to be profitable. You just have to know how to do it from a business point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And we literally get so close to our fee-for-service fees with Delta Dental, MetLife, Blue Cross, Regents, that we don't have issues here in Utah. Why is that? Because we have state laws that Tracy has been so masterful in passing here in Utah. We're helping other states right now pass those same laws, and we know the contracts.
Yep.
That's the main difference. So here is what is... This reminds me of what I'm going to, this real world example, I'm going to call it a tale of two exam rooms. This is back when I was in dental school. It's amazing when HMOs were smashing the medical field. Okay. So this reminds me of a story about this OB-GYN in California, and he had two sides to his practice. Imagine going into the practice, you had a hallway and they had beautiful rooms to the left side. And they, for their private pay and well-insured patients, it was absolutely beautiful. The rooms on the left side were gorgeous. On the right-hand side were cold, sterile ones for PPO or HMO or lower-tier insurances. And I laughed when I heard that story. And at first, I kind of was outraged. I thought,
Yes.
Oh, how dare he? This sounds exactly like so many dentists out there. Rob, how dare you charge your PPO patients an additional fee? You signed a contract. You can't do that. And my question back at all those dentists that make that statement, have you ever read your damn contract? And the answer is always, well, no. And that's for Mary Jane, my office manager, to do, right?
Yeah. Mary Jane has all the time in the world to read that contract too.
We put these wonderful front office team members in a office manager position to run our $1, $2, $3 million practices. We give them no business training. That's so terrible on us for doing that in dentistry. But that's what we do all the time. The dichotomy of dentistry. You've heard me talk about that. But the clinical care was the same. This OB-GYN gave the same clinical care, just like all of you prep the same preps. You fill root canals, hit the end of the apex, you're right there. You do great work. Surgical extractions, you get everything out. You do great, great work. But the experience, not so much. And that's the point. Why are we in healthcare expected to pretend everyone is paying the same when they clearly are not?
Well, and look at that 2740, that crown code right there. I have heard so many offices tell me that their fee for a crown for a fee-for-service patient includes the best, which, by the way, that's a whole other story. So if that includes the best, what are you giving your PPO patient? If you're charging the PPO, it's just really interesting how that code in particular, the doctors will turn to me and say, well, it already is the best. Well, if you're going to offer choice, that choice has to be given equally to PPOs and fee-for-service patients. And I think that getting past that mentality of, oh, if you're fee-for-service and you automatically get the best, is something that these doctors and team members need to get around. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, something that just hit me like a ton of bricks is how many dentists out there, they're so locked into their PPO patients and ordering the cheapest crown or milling the cheapest way to mill on CEREC, and then their fee-for-service patient comes in. Mm-hmm. What crown do they get there? What I'm doing the best implants already, yet they're ordering the cheaper implants that have problems within 9 years, according to Dentistry Today's research. And yet, 40% of them see complications within 9 years. And so what implants are they giving for their fee-for-service patients? Are they Straumann? Nobel?
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
And speaking of that cost shifting thing, now that I'm thinking about it, you're right. These doctors are saying, well, I am going to do kind of cheaper in certain areas to make up for the fact that I am in the red with these PPO patients. And so they're making up for it. With anything they can possibly charge those fee-for-service patients.
Go ahead.
And
Finish
I
your
just
thought.
was thinking of one of the doctors that I used to work with. He would say constantly, I'm doing the best for everybody. I'm doing the best for everybody. The minute he had a family member come in, I watched those labs and what he ordered through the labs for those family members. And it was definitely more expensive and better. So I think that's really interesting.
Interesting, and again, where are we in dentistry? Where are you, Doc? And let's get even more uncomfortable. Who else is paying the price for your altruism, your philosophical philosophies that lack business training? Who is paying for you to give out MEPAT services to LEPAT reimbursements? And I'm going to call it the dental team's hidden burden. It's your team. It's not just you, Doc. It's your team. Why? Because the majority of dentists out there are not paying their team a livable wage. And I can promise you that in Utah, because we know what the hourly rates are. We know where dental teams are being paid. And how can you, in defense of all the dentists out there, hon, how can they afford to pay their team more if they are not profitable by procedure? And so you can't drop them a dry well. Our dentists that come through our training here in Utah, both nationwide and in Utah, they're able to actually pay their teams a livable wage, and everybody succeeds. The patient's happier, they get higher end work. Doctor's happier, they're making more money. The team's happier because the doctor's not being selfish with the increased generated revenue, net revenue. So if your practice is silently funding LEPAT level reimbursements with MEPAT level products, guess what? Your staff's raises, or the lack thereof, are funding your generosity to your PPO patients. Ooh, that's ugly to say it like that. Your hygienist bonuses, yeah, they're gone. Your own financial piece, poof, gone. That's a power play. So let's use a ridiculous analogy. Should all airline passengers fly first class to make it fair?
Well, I like that analogy.
I just want to be fair. I want to sleep at night. I want to be fair with all my patients, Rob. No, of course not. Not everybody gets to fly first class. There's a differential in cost of goods. But somehow in dentistry, we've internalized this idea that everyone deserves the first class of clinical delivery, regardless of what they pay. That's a powerful statement for me to make. And when challenged, we say things like, well, Tracy, I want to sleep at night. I know you've heard that a million times.
Oh, we have.
And I want to go to church and feel good about myself. If my ecclesiastical leader asks me if I'm honest in my dealings with my fellow men, that has nothing to do with it. That's like going to Big O Tires and having Big O place on Michelin tires, which are way better than the Big O brand.
Right.
And it's like, you can't stay in business. This is why you financially struggle. But then, I shouldn't even jump off onto this tangent, because here's why. Dentistry, it's like we've been frogs in a boiling pot. Although I know that analogy biologically is not real.
But it's relevant.
But it's relevant because your wages have come down slowly throughout all these years. How do I know? I've been at this for over 35 years. I have literally seen wages decrease, and the ADA points this out all the time. The net income of dentists nationwide has dropped significantly, and all of you have been tightening your belt in what you're able to provide, purchase, do, retirement accounts, technology. Everybody has to take a loan out pretty much nowadays, unless you're fee-for-service, to actually buy stuff. And not our clients, though, per se, not us. Yeah. I mean, we save it up really quick and purchase it because we are profitable by procedure. But how many dentists out there are stressing and straining over that because your wages have gone down so slowly, the PPO plans have not budged, and cost of living's gone up. That's what's caused it.
And I was thinking about the introduction of this podcast with you and I, and how we have so many different directions that we were going on at the beginning. And it's because we've seen how each dentist responds to this pressure of working with insurance companies at low reimbursements for LEPAT services. And we've seen them do different things. I've seen, well, I'm going to do the same either way, whether they're fee for service or PPOs. Well, that's a problem because from a business perspective, you shouldn't be doing that.
That's like putting
right?
Michelin tires on every single
on every
car
single
that rolls
patient.
through. That's like getting filet mignon at Harmon's grocery store for everybody, whether you want hamburger, whether you can afford it or not.
And if I were a fee for service patient, I'd be livid to find out that an insured patient is going to get the exact same thing as me when I'm paying more money for a better quality product. So that's one thing that's interesting. The second thing I'm thinking about is, well, okay, what if the doctor says, well, I'm only going to do the best for the fee for service patients, but I'm going to do the basic for my PPO patients. Now that would be under the situation where you're not being able to give the option, right, of offering those better things like the Idahos and the Wyomings and the Washington states,
which goes against the contracts, right?
Which goes against the contracts because
you have to be
you can't discriminate. And so we've got that issue going on, and then we also see the offices, which in my mind is more ethical, where regardless, you're giving both PPO and fee-for-service patients the options to choose from really good to really great. And I think that the main thing that I want to emphasize is, yeah, you might be reimbursed Walmart prices, but maybe you can find something that's a little bit better so that you can sleep at night and you go from good to great for both fee-for-service and PPO.
Please understand, Tracy and I are not snobs. We shop at Walmart, Target,
Amazon.com, baby.
Amazon. It's like we are fiscally responsible with our funds. But
by doing it that way, it's a way to, number one, be business savvy, right? Making sure that you are being reimbursed for the same type of products and giving everybody the fair choice to do better. I think that is the right business move and ethical move, is doing a good to great.
Here's the hard truth though. And again, we play good cop, bad cop. I'm usually the bad cop. Tracy's always the angelic one, although don't let that angelicness of her,
I'm a Slytherin.
She's a tiger.
If I were Harry Potter house, I'd be Slytherin. You have to be to battle the insurance companies like we have. You cannot be a little baby cry pacifist. You have to be tough, and she is tough. But here's the hard truth: when dentists subsidize LEPAT, least expensive professionally accepted treatment, with MEPAT, more expensive professionally accepted treatment, it subsidizing it isn't honesty. No.
It's hidden dishonesty. And I just said it. It's hidden dishonesty. It's dishonesty to your patients paying full fare, to your team working their guts out, extra hours, the hygienists being double and triple booked. No wonder they're burned out and want their own autonomy. And to yourself, docs, to yourself, because you're sinking financially in the name of ethical appearances. And some of you don't even know you're sinking financially because you think that, I make a good living, I'm okay. And yet when I talk to all of you about, how's your retirement account look like? What's the technology in your office? Are you able to keep up with technology? Are you able to pay your staff a livable wage? You can't draw from a dry well. You've got to run a profitable business. So what's the real ethical answer? Well, ethics isn't about giving everyone the same thing. It's about being honest about what you're doing and why. It's you want to offer high quality to all people? Then be transparent about it. Want to offer tiers of service based on reimbursement? Then be unapologetic about it.
Yes.
I think that is one of the most powerful plays of verbiage that I think I could ever say. But stop pretending your business is immune to economics. It's not, because here's what really keeps dentists up at night. Not guilt, not morality, and I mean like doing the ethical thing, not immorality. Okay, but financial, unless some of you out there, okay, straighten out your lives. But financial instability. Mm-hmm. Financial instability, from what our research has shown, is the number one thing that keeps you up at night.
Because it's not just your family you're taking care of, it's your team.
And they become your family, don't they?
They do. And to think of all the doctors who have broken down in our training, talking honestly with their team about how important it is to be financially stable so that they can pay their team that wage is just amazing to me, and a breakthrough moment. And we just need to address it.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you again, what's more ethical? Giving patients choice based on cost, or giving away high quality care for free and lying to yourself that it's sustainable financially? I don't think it is. And that's what we have seen over and over again. It's not. So I hope until next time you guys think deeply and act boldly and run your practice like a business that it is. And remember, you can't draw from a dry well. You have got to understand your direct operating costs per hour and understand how to be profitable by procedure and learn how to do that. And if you don't know how to do that, that's what our training is all about. Please, please, please jump on our training. Let us help you. It's guaranteed training. Nobody else does the type of guarantee that we do. You have to make $250,000 in new net revenue, not production, net revenue.
On codes you've never used before
our tuition is paid. And that's the beauty of what we do. Well, I hope that you've got some thoughts about the ethics of cost shifting from your fee-fors and your high insurance paying down to your Delta Dentals of life. I hope you start thinking about it because cost shifting is unethical. It's happened in medical for too many years, and they're actually now I just read another article where they're going on outcome-based pay for their people. Like if that surgery didn't work out, you don't get paid as much. So we'll see what an ethical thing to have happen in the medical community. But yeah, in medical has happened for so many years and they've throttled back. And now in dentistry, we're seeing cost shifting happen like crazy. It's got to stop, folks. You can't afford to cost shift. People should pay for what they receive. Looked like you wanted to say something at the end.
I was starting to, but you know what? I'm going to save that for another podcast.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you all have a great day.
Thank you for being with us today. Since 2006, My Practice, My Business has been teaching dentists and their teams business skills, dental insurance contractual protocols, and state laws governing how to profitably bill patients fairly for the need-based services they provide. What's more, we guarantee our training, unlike other dental consulting companies in the industry. Simply stated, if you don't increase your net revenue, we don't get paid. We call it dental consulting the way it should be. We believe there has never been a more important time than now for dentists to experience and implement our key methods, knowledge, and business training within their dental practices. To learn more about our guaranteed, no-risk clinical business of dentistry training that is changing dental practices for the better, just go to our website, mypracticemybusiness.com, and surf our pages for additional information about our company and the services we provide. When you're ready, give us a call and get scheduled for the most profitable dental business training that you will ever experience. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Thank you again and have a fantastic day.